all the money, records things, and then turns it over to the treasurer. And the advantage of that is that now you've got two lions involved. I can't tell you how many times I have had conversations with the treasurer, or if I was the treasurer, the secretary, to say, I don't show Jim as having paid his dues. And the secretary said, well, I do. And so we just go to the board and say, we can't tell. I tried to ask and didn't get very far. So we'd like to just kick in for his dues to make sure it's paid. And they typically waive it and we don't worry about it. But it is a nice check and balance to help minimize situations like that. Another thing that needs to be done, and I think it's the secretary's job, is to go out to the Secretary of State webpage once a year and check to see when your incorporation papers need to be renewed. There is an appointed agent. The problem is the appointed agent may have been appointed 10 years ago, and that lion may have already moved to Florida. He may not be a lion anymore. They could have moved to another town, that sort of thing. And so frequently that information, that renewal, doesn't get back to the club. So I always recommend that you go out once a year and check that. And other than the first time when it takes a couple of minutes to work your way through the Secretary of State webpage, other than that, it's very simple. Another thing is somebody needs to pay the sales tax. Sales tax needs to be paid twice a year for most clubs. July 1 through July 20, January 1 through January 20. If you do not fill out your sales tax, the Department of Taxation will be very happy to assist you. And they assist you by saying, we're going to estimate that you owe $1,000. Can you go ahead and send that to us? And it is a pain in the rear to get it fixed. So just remember to do it every July and every January. The third part that we typically don't talk about is the Attorney General requires all nonprofits, and since we're a 501c4 organization, we fall into that category, that we need to file a report with the Attorney General's office online every year. If you're doing the sales tax, I typically turn around and do the AG report at the same time. The final thing that needs to get done, and this can be done by the secretary or more likely the treasurer, is to do the IRS 990 filing. But all of those are typically not highlighted as secretarial duties. Secretary duties typically are taking minutes, working with the service coordinators, service chairs, and fundraising chairs to get reports into my line. I'll fill out my LCI forms, those are for membership, and going to the zone meetings, filling out the paperwork. Well, actually it's online now, but filling out the paperwork for new officers, and that is under my LCI. And PDG Mike Carrick in the previous session talked about my lion. One of the things that they highlighted was you should have a club administrator. I think you should have a club administrator as well, but one of the reasons is that way you can start to slowly train that individual into being a future secretary or a future treasurer, as the case may be. It is important that you follow up with the vice governors and the governor to find out when they plan to visit your club, if they plan to visit. Small clubs sometimes partner with other clubs and meet as a group. With all that rambling, does that cause anybody to have any questions?
Why is it one person?
Why is it one person? Doesn't have to be. In my club for many years, so I belong to the Hilliard Lions. I don't live in Hilliard, don't work in Hilliard, never have done anything in Hilliard except drive over to Hilliard to attend a meeting. So when we're doing a project and somebody asks, how do I get to the bakery? I don't have a clue. I have to bring another line over. I work downtown Columbus. It is very difficult to get from downtown Columbus to Hilliard in a reasonable amount of time. For that reason, we had a recording secretary, an informal position that took minutes, did the things for the times I couldn't make the meeting or I got there very late. So yes, you can be very creative.
Yeah, we had assistant secretary for quite a while when we were over 60 members. Just too much work for one secretary.
Yes. Now, it is fair to say that it's not dramatically harder to be a secretary of 60 than it is to be a secretary of 10 minds. The bulk of the things are the same thing. You still have to do monthly reporting. You still want to do the annual reporting and that sort of thing. Jeff, if you can go to the calendar.
Back to the other page?
The other page, yes. And so if you can, there you are. This is something that I put together over a decade ago to do secretary training, well, 10 years ago. One of the things is we talk about what needs to be done, but we don't always talk about when it needs to be done. And it's very helpful to have a list of monthly activities, which are the first 10 items on the left, and then marching through the months. It's just this, that, and the other. For example, in July, year-end reporting. There's no reason why you can't do the IRS 990 in July. There's no benefit to waiting until November. Working on a budget, which typically is treasurer, but sometimes secretary is involved as well, depending on how the club is managed. But anyway, this is just my shortcut list of things to try to remember. Do your all's clubs give out awards? Do you have a Lion of the Year, Perfect Attendance Award, anything like that?
No, we don't.
We have not for a number of years. But if you were, ordering them by about March would typically make sense. Does your club have a definition of perfect attendance?
LCI has a definition of perfect attendance.
Oh, they really bounce around. So to clarify, our club constitution has a perfect attendance section, and it says 18 entities, 18 meetings a year, or going to a zone committee meeting is a meeting, or a project we called a meeting. So 18 items of any flavor. That way people could miss a meeting, yet cover all the projects and still get the equivalent of a perfect attendance. Our club also has an encouragement for young couples. Young couples, especially those with children, would typically have conflicts. In our Constitution, if one spouse is at the meeting, both spouses are.
Oh, clever.
And it would irritate Debbie to no end that she would get perfect attendance when she made it to about 6 meetings. Well, she was off, Wednesday night, I don't remember what it was, scouts or that sort of thing. But anyway, we thought that was a good way to encourage younger couples with children. Now I'm off base because this is secretary training, but a lot of the secretary job is just trying to take care of everybody. And one of the ways you do that is with awards, with just thanking people. You will get correspondence from LCI. You'll get a ton of correspondence from whoever is the president, the LCI president this year. What questions can I help you with? Do we have anybody this is going to be their first time as secretary?
On me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Really wasn't a choice.
I do have to also send condolences.
Yeah.
Secretary has 2 more words after it. For life. Sometimes you almost have to die in order to get out of being secretary. But
I didn't want to hear that.
well, there's a reason we wait until now to tell you that.
Yeah, wait till you're elected, then we tell you.
Yeah, it does get easier. The more repetitions you get in, the easier it's going to be. Probably the hardest part right now was the session that Mike Carrick, PDG Mike Carrick, just gave. My Lion. My Lion has been painful, and it's gotten much better. You report service projects in My Lion, and you report membership information. You report.
Well, I've got.
Go ahead.
I think somebody's distracted.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, if you're not talking, hit your mute.
What? Nope. I can't.
Does everybody know what a family unit is?
Yes, it can consist of husband, wife, children, as well as a lot of their relatives and, like cousins, whoever is living in that house.
Yes. For LCI's purposes, anybody that is related and living in the same household and are members of the same Lions Club can get a reduced rate from LCI for international dues. So Lion Jeff and Lion Loretta are both living in the same household. They both belong to the same Lions Club. So the secretary for the club can set that up so that one of the two is part of the family unit, and therefore instead of the $43 a year, it's half that. So Jeff and Loretta are able to be a family unit. My wife and I cannot be because she's a member of a different club than I am. she used to be a member of my club, and she wanted to start a Wednesday night church program, and we meet on Wednesdays. So she transferred her membership to a different club that meets on a different night. But that can be very enticing for recruiting members.
Can try
Young
all-
people,
I'm letting you do this. This is your.
people that are under 30 can have some benefits from LCI in terms of reduced dues. So you're always encouraged to find students that are out of high school, or either working or going to college, and getting them to be a Lion, either in your club or at a campus club if they're going to college on campus. All of that is covered in the Constitution bylaws, which are available from LCI. And I believe it's touched on in that secretary manual. Does every club, do all of you have a Constitution and bylaws for your club?
We just used the one that provided by LCI. We used to have one that was customized that we tweak and change it all the time, but we found that we just live with the one that comes from LCI, and that's what we live by.
We all have to live by the one from LCI.
Well, I'm talking about the club LCI one.
No, that's
the
what I mean.
template or the standard template. Yeah.
They,
Well, you can add to it, but we've taken all the addition stuff out.
right. So LCI has now mandated that you have to use their model, and you can add to it, but they wanted to put some very explicit language that they wanted to have for all Lions clubs. So my club does have its own constitution. It's about a page and a half, and it says we're following the standard constitution. Perfect attendance is this, and our dues are this amount. Our dues are what everybody else charges us plus a club fee, which is $24. We haven't had an argument about dues increases in 20 years because of that. Just something to think about. What other thoughts do people have?
$24, Dave. Holy moly. Ours is $6.
Well, we only have 9 Lions in the club. Our bonding costs $100 a year.
Oh, your club pays for bonding.
Yeah. All clubs are supposed to be bonded. All clubs are supposed to have their books reviewed yearly or more often. A long time ago, I was involved as a vice governor, and we had some financial issues at the state level. Bunch of us went to a meeting in Bucyrus, I think, and after the meeting, after we talked about what all was going to get done, we were waiting for everybody to go to the restroom. Everybody's just talking, and every Lion there had a story about financial mismanagement of a Lion's nature. The state, MD13, does not bond Lions anymore, except for the CSTs, CTs, and the multiple district secretary, because there were so many claims being written up that they were going and merging that into the state building and trying to get money out of the state building insurance policy. It's very important that you have somebody review the books. Just saying. Anybody else have any questions? Any comments? I do want to remind you that this is a recorded session. It will be available later on the OH5 webpage. That way other people can make use of it if they miss this session.
Dave, if you got a second, I'll show you something that I'm kind of proud of. We just started.
Yes, please.
So what we've always been, how do I make sure my club members here know the minutes, right? We're a corporated club. How do I know about the people that can't make it to the meetings? How do they keep up to date? So what we've started is that now what I do, I actually publish our meeting minutes online. And so and another nice thing is that I always just put the current meeting at the top. So here's January 16th, and then the next one is February 6th. So we can always, if basically in short, this is the history as well. The almost 10 years worth of minutes all put right inside of here, and any of my club members can come and see these minutes because I have them just available in my OneDrive that everybody has access to. But you can do the same thing with a Dropbox or some other type of thing and keep those up to date. It's just, we found it's a nice way to keep members that can't attend meetings often up to date with how the club's going. And then my monthly email out to everybody, say, here's how things are going. I always include a link to the minutes. Say, hey, don't forget, here's where the minutes are kept up to date, and you can welcome to look at them there. So something we started about a year ago, and a lot of members really like it. Fun to share.
I think it's brilliant. One of the things that I think most of our Lions community are struggling with is they saw the email. They don't know where they put the email. They can't go back and reread it or follow up on anything. This approach, everybody knows where it is. This is very nice.
Yeah. The address is actually a little bit easier. It's just minutes.
Yes.
That canalwinchesterlions.org. So if any guys want to look at them, you're welcome to look at them as well. This is a read-only hyperlink if you want to see an example of how I do the minutes.
So how did you set that up?
Did I set what part of it up?
So did you get a, did you sign up for a URL?
Oh, yeah. Well, our club, we're not email address, but our club does have a URL, which is canalwinchesterlions.org. And then I'm allowed up to 12 little subdomains. So I have minutes anytime we have a, like our learn, or what are some of the other ones I do? Like when we did a circus, we had it circus.canalwinchesterlions. So any of our big fundraisers and things like that, I'll make a special page. A Pause in the Park, we've done one. So I'll have it like, and then they can go, and it does nothing more than just take you right to our regular web page, but I can use these links to forward. So that's what our club does. It's kind of neat that we have the ability. Forwarding pages, I guess, is what you call that. Is that the right word for it? I don't know. You know, everybody's canalwinchesterlions.org, but this beginning part can change to what I want people to go to. Oh, calendar's one. Calendar.canalwinchesterlions.org takes us. You recognize it when you see it. So we pass it. This is a link that our club members use as well.
Very nice. So there's
Daddy.com, and I think we pay $15 a year for the domain.
If you can put
you
out,
don't have to have the fancy link, right? You can use any old link, just Dropbox and just share it with everybody. Dropbox is free.
great idea. Any other suggestions from anybody?
This is Don McKelvey with the Plain City Lions Club. About a year or so ago, we started putting our minutes directly into our newsletter, and the newsletter we meet twice a month, and the newsletter comes out the Saturday before the meeting. So they have access to all the information that occurred at the previous meeting and any notes from the board meetings if we had one in that time period between meetings. So all our minutes are put there, so they're fully distributed whether you attended the meeting or not.
Maybe you all should be teaching this class instead of me. Great idea.
Probably within this room, there's 200 years worth of secretary skills here, I would imagine.
True.
Yeah.
One of the things if you're going to be a new secretary, one of the things you need to understand is everybody excels in different parts. And for example, meeting minutes, we are so tiny, we are so informal that we rarely have emotion. It's just kind of talked about and agreed. So we really don't have minutes per se. That's a failing on my part. But as Jeff has pointed out, with this format, you have a history, whereas my club doesn't have that level of detail, and that's unfortunate. So clearly, we ought to get able to do some more of that. Other ideas people have.
But it's really fascinating to go through some of our meeting minutes from back like during the World War II, and seeing that when we had to cancel meetings because there wasn't any meat available, or meetings that had to get canceled because it was finally good weather and the guys were able to get out into the fields and harvest. How one year we bought a water-cooled machine gun for the war effort. So think of yourself as a secretary when you're taking these minutes as a historian. And I don't know if the guy thought about this when he was writing those minutes back then, but we as a club member sometimes enjoy looking through old minutes and seeing crazy stories about what life was like back, in the early days of Canal Winchester. So don't be afraid to take good minutes of just interesting things that don't seem like a big deal to you today, but maybe be very interesting for somebody in the future.
Yes. Something else to think about as a historian is to keep a list of all of your club members. Who was in your club 15 years ago? I can't find that easily. But a historical approach would be very helpful, especially if you're going to celebrate a 50th anniversary or 75th anniversary or something like that. So there are quite a few different ideas from different secretaries. That's one of the benefits of going to a zone meeting, is that sometimes you can talk to a secretary that has a different view of what they do well, and that can be helpful. Other people? Any other comments? In terms of this approach, what are your thoughts? Would a more traditional lecture have been a better way to go?
No, this is Ram from No Holland Online. I think it was fairly interesting. I mean, engaging in conversation, because the ebook gives a lot of information, and I think that's traditional. And you are trying to bring the traditional information in the ebook to current situation, which is COVID-19 situation. So I think this conversation is interesting, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. As a trainer, I'm always trying to find something different to maybe communicate in a better way. I mentioned to One Lion, I once did a training session where it was a PowerPoint-based approach, and it had a timer on it. Every 40 seconds, page changed. I had 40 seconds to say everything I had to say about that one page, because then it was moving on went through without me. The comments that came back from that were, it was much more concise. You stayed much more on point. and it was extremely nerve-wracking. I have never done it again, but that was an approach.
I don't think I'd like that. I hear your comments to it, but boy, that seems like that would be, some slides are stupid. Why did I spend 40 seconds on this slide, and then vice versa? That's to me.
Part of the issue is we do PowerPoints poorly. Many people will put a conversation, will type a conversation, and call that a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
PowerPoints should be a graph, a picture, 5 words, whatever. At least that's what people that do good PowerPoints recommend. So it's something to try. It does help try to keep things fresh. It keeps you from being lazy, or at least me. Of course, I was a wreck before I did it, but well, if there's nothing else, I'd like to thank all of you for attending. I am in the directory. Phone email is dave@luttrellzoo.com, LUTTRELLZOO.com. I actually have a boatload of aliases. So PDG Dave goes to the same place, and I've got one for LCI, only for LCI. And the reason I do that is I can find out when they've sold my name to another third-party company.
Yes, which happens.
Which happens.
This is what, Dave? Your address?
Dave? Yes, there it is.
Yep. Yeah, it happens quite often. It's kind of surprised when they started doing that.
Well, it also helps a little bit in terms of whether or not it's just unsolicited spam or really somebody just fishing in the dark. If it comes to Dave, PDG Dave-LCI, I know it came via something LCI has sold. Flower Power is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Phone number is 614-459-0821. Be happy to help with any questions people have. Obviously, as you can see, there are many secretaries throughout the district that have quite a bit of experience, so they are also good resources, but you're more than welcome to contact me. Jeff, anything else you want to do to wrap things up?
No, thanks everybody for showing up. I don't have anything formal. And we'll see you guys at the next session.
Thanks, everybody.
I actually have a question for anybody else, because they do have on the calendar for this that Governor-elect Jason is going to have a speech to talk at noon. We get to that. Does anybody know?
I do not.
Yeah, it's not going to work very good. So I guess nobody's going to hear it probably.
Well, thanks again, everybody. See everybody at the next session. Bye-bye.